Any question before we get on today's topic? Your last chance. Okay, lecture 3 now. Maybe yesterday we didn't quite finish that part.
No, we did cover some of that in the first hour.
Okay, lecture 3, okay. Whoa, why? That's scary.
That's fantastic.
That's very scary.
I did not copy added this slide.
Mine.
At unconscious mind, yes. Change that. Okay, Lina, she copy it. The unconscious mind, yeah. Why so scary?
It's not scary.
Huh?
It's not scary.
Not scary?
No.
Why? Why not scary?
It's actually fascinating.
Huh?
Yeah. A different method of discovering yourself.
That's scary. Imagine that most behavior are not under your control. That's scary, right? A big, large part of your behavior, motivation, they come from subconscious, unconscious area. So that's why we have a lot of problems, right? If we're all rational, if everything under the new cortex, under control of new cortex, okay? People, everybody is rational. The fact is that often we behave very irrationally. That's why husband and wives fight like dogs and cats. Because they're not rational. They're not rational. A third person say, "Oh, what do you fight over nothing?" If people are all rational, this world will be peaceful. And this is interesting. They did an experiment. The doctor will stimulate the motor cortex to elicit hand movement. Okay? So the patient doesn't know why he raises the arm, okay? Because it like the stimulation, right? You know that study, right? So then the doctor says, well, why do you raise your hand? Guess what the person said. What the patient said. Oh, I raised my hand to ask a nurse to come over. See, this person has a behavior completely beyond control. Yet our tendency to make sense of things, say, oh, I raised my hand because I want the nurse to come over. So we're trying to use conscious explanation of something that's completely unconscious. You know, right? And there's so many experiments now to show that our behavior often are controlled by unconscious impulses, unconscious desires. We now will find out, you know, it's really scary because you wonder, sometimes you wonder why you do that, you wonder why you say that, or why anybody would say something so silly, or act so silly, so irrational. Because Freud's discovery. Now, for a long time, people say, oh, Freud's theory cannot be tested. You know what? The last 20 years, there's a lot more research comparing psychoanalysis of psychodynamic therapy with other kind of therapy, where you come to deep-seated personality disorder. Psychoanalysis is the best way. You know, with deep-seated personality disorder, they can trace back to childhood. You know, long-term psychoanalysis still more effective than short-term solution-focused therapy or behavior or cognitive behavioral therapy, because there's so much stuff there. There's so much stuff that affect you you're not aware of. That's quite scary. Yeah. Now here I copy from Professor Lori Marino. She listed a whole bunch of defense mechanisms. Can you see them?
No.
We ask Josh to enlarge them later.
Right here.
Oh, I can enlarge them now. Can I enlarge them? Okay. You know about computer? I don't know. No, I only know psychology.
Talk amongst yourselves.
We surely give the credit to the person.
Yeah, well, this is just for the sake of being able to see it.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Do magic, eh? Wow. Look, all defense mechanisms. This is very scary. Does anyone know how to do acting out? Eh? Seriously, do you know how to do acting out?
All of them? You want
To acting out. I have seen my granddaughter acting out. She screamed. So when you behave like my granddaughter, that's acting out, right? Okay. Any question? No. All these defenses are unconscious or subconscious. They are just below the surface of your consciousness. You use them without realizing that you're using them. Now, I think the unconscious motives or defenses are important for self-therapists, because you see, often many of your clients' problems are from that. Secondly, you have to watch out that you do resort to those unconscious defense mechanisms in your conversation with the client. If sometimes your clients might accuse you of something, right? They come and blame you for something. So one way is to answer that charge or that accusation in a rational, professional way for the benefit of the client. Another way is fall into the trap of defense mechanism as a human being, right? Now, who discovered about that? The genius, Freud, the genius. The sex obsessed. Freud.
The genius, right?
In the beginning, there's Freud, who discovered to enjoy. And he's the first person who used the word transference to a patient called Dora. See, Dora fell in love with Freud. Okay. Do you have any client fall in love with you? No? You have? Oh. So how do you handle it?
End up transferring the client to someone else.
What?
End up transferring the client to someone else.
Transfer.
Transfer.
Transfer 10, okay. Now here, at that time, Freud did not know any better, okay? So this Dora fell in love with Freud, but not really fell in love with Freud, but she fell in love with the phantom of her old lover. So that phantom is attached to Freud. So only later on, Freud realized what's happening. So he called that phenomenon transfer. So this person terminate the therapy, quickly, okay? Because her need for love was not met, okay? So this is quite common where some kind of feeling intrude into the therapeutic relationship. So it's understandable because you meet someone week after week and sharing intimate stuff, right? So it's not unusual. Okay. And here talk about a little bit more deeper now. We'll talk about when a client comes to see a therapist, so there is an implicit contract, right? Fee for service is a professional arrangement. Right? You pay the fee, you see the service. Just as see the doctor, you got a service. So there's an implicit legal contract. You pay the fee, you receive help. So the therapeutic alliance implicitly means that the therapist and the client will work together to solve the client's problem. But what makes therapy more complicated is that often the clients come to you with a covert agenda. Okay? So they come in not just to get help, but they have unconscious, unresolved issues behind. For example, my supervisor has seen a client for over a year, okay? For a year. And my supervisor complained to me that this client is not making any progress, and he's afraid of going out of the apartment, and afraid of going to school, and doesn't want to make friends. So he paid the psychologist to come to his home to help him. He paid a Chinese doctor to come home and pay him money, right? So here's the case. So I thought, well, maybe he doesn't want to get well. Okay? Because physically, there's no problem whatsoever. He's tall and big and strong. I mean, you look at him, you never think he's sick, right? So their clients refuse to get well for some hidden agenda, because he's not capable of making friends So at least by playing his sickness, he got psychologist come to see him, Chinese doctor come to him, this person come to see him. So that's his way of manipulating the psychologist. Now, in terms of unconscious motive, so sounds like what kind of problem he has. Sounds like dependence, projective identification. A big term, okay? He had a dependence need, and he had to project someone so that who will meet that need. So often, people are complicated. So it's not straightforward problem. These unconscious things make things difficult.